Coming up next, Virtus Pro versus Na'Vi.
Well done by Virtus Pro.
Man, this whole game, like, it felt like what you're talking about from the drafting phase, where you're able to get this easy Blink Dagger onto Pashi, just sits inside a Sandstorm on the off lane, no one really contests him the entire game, and what does Na'Vi have as a real response to this? And I'm not even talking Sandstorm, I'm talking the Blink Dagger in back, and this is what you flagged. In fact, like, once Lil had Blink Dagger, he was really, really good, but it took so much time for him to get it, and you never got anything out of the offlaner of Na'Vi like that. Like, General, he was the stand and fight kind of offlaner.
Yeah, I think they tried to use General's role as more of like we can get away with this Death Prophet dual lane thing, and we can transition him to him being like our tower hitter while then he gets solo kills.
This was the worst fight, I think, for Na'Vi. This was that full tilt point when, like, after this, Manta and BKBs arrived. They were keeping VP's economy down until this fight.
But I think they were already in a pretty good position at this point. I mean, so to talk about the Sand King in the offlane again, yes, they didn't kill him. Yes, he got a fast Blink Dagger. Yes, he got a lot done. But I think they were maybe too content with just Lifestealer free farming. And Lifestealer did really well this game in terms of farm levels. Crystallize got good items, but the issue was, Sand King made too much happen in the early mid game. And I think the other issue is that Dendi didn't really do anything after the first laning stage. Like, his laning stage went well, they killed Shadow Fiend a little bit, he had a couple good rotations, but at some point Dendi just didn't really do anything. He goes, he was forced to go 4-step, and he got ganked a few times by like the clock sanking A. Like, I just think it wasn't the right mid hero, I feel like.
Yeah.
Like, it was a hero that can kill Shadow Fiend, but he was just so vulnerable to like Clockwork and the A. And that was their last pick, was it not?
Yeah, it was their last. It was their fifth.
I think that was a little bit of oversight. Maybe he wasn't expecting Sand King to get a blink so fast, but there was still a lot of dust that he had that resulted from them just being in the right place at the right time, finding him and getting a kill.
Yeah. Nah, I'm kind of with you on it. Like, I could understand it if it was more aggressive. Like, if you had the early Yule Scepter and Dendi was hunting, like almost like the Shadowblade Yule's style of build on him, where they got to be aggressive, having little combo with it. Because that's the way Na'Vi would run it in the past. But in this matchup, it just didn't work. The distance closing was always there. You never even needed a hero like a Phantom Assassin to close the distance because VP just ran at him. And Na'Vi tried to stand their ground as much as they could, because that's all Crystallize could do, right? Like we were talking about Crystallize before this game even began. It's like, is he still doing a really good job? And as a life stealer, he did. Like, he got good farm. He was ready to go.
That Nullifier pickup closed that game out. Like, guaranteed that game.
Coming up next, Team Secret versus Pain Gaming.
Played the best on their team.
You gonna say Fada?
I think I would say Fada. We can take some look at some clips, maybe see if there's a big difference. This was actually the huge one for the Snowball. Iode recently died. He's just coming back to the lane here, and Snowball is definitely able to buy him some Maledict time. Ace hitting the back line, able to pick off Duster. This was the start of the many times we saw Duster get picked off. But fights like these, Pain needed to have some success here to transition into taking towers. And even only losing like 1 or 2 heroes when they do these pushes really changes the game. But this was the fight that Pain really needed to win. They almost finished Roche. They had initiation. He blink dodged it.
Yeah,
that's huge.
The doppelganger timing was really, I think, the first real problem in that fight for Pain. The fact they committed in with their crush and they didn't claim it.
Yeah, that's a big deal. A doppelgang dodged, I guess. But yeah, if you miss your initiation on Slaughter, that's basically what he does. He jumps in, he stuns, he amp damages, and he runs away. And you need to follow up on that. If it's missed, then it gave Secret that 5 seconds, 8 seconds where they can actually chase down their opponents and secure some big kills. They get the IO here successfully after some doing, but it costed them a lot.
It
was
so long.
Ultimately, they lost Chen, and they lost the respawning Witch Doctor just to kill Yapzor here. I really liked King RD's move here. Didn't even mess around with Maledict. He knew his amp damage, drops the cask, and drops the ulti.
Yeah. It's like the amount of sacrifice that had to come out from Pain to achieve what they did, and the timing for it. Like, it was so good with their fighting on bottom lane. They take out 2 heroes, but they still never ever claimed the tier 2 tower. Like, until like so long in. And you're like, okay, well this was fantastic, but the only time they claimed the tier 2 tower was when they missed the Blink Crush, and then they took the tier 2 and lost Roshan for it as well.
Yep.
So, yeah, a couple of hiccups for Pain. They really potentially could have kept themselves inside the game a lot longer if some things just went right for them, because the Weaver was a really good source of damage. He was fantastic in the engagement, but there just wasn't enough from the rest of the team.
I still am not a fan of his itemization. I certainly would have preferred probably something different than the butterfly, and I think the Diffusal was also the wrong move. I think he should have gone Deso there. Again, they have a minus armor strat. They've got amp damage, they've got medallions, they've got Weaver bugs.
Yeah.
Throw a Deso on the game so that you just do that much more damage against their opponents. Yes, he can counter it by going all the same damage, but damn it, he was going to do it anyways, you know? Like, and yes, it gives you some disable for chasing and stuff. I really felt like raw damage is what they needed to overpower some team fights in some crucial moments. I don't know if it would have made the difference if he built the item. I don't know if he would have gotten it in time enough to make a difference in X games.
Team Secret will bring down Pain.
It looked like they had a fun time there. Some slight smirks on every one of their faces. But it's got to feel good when you play against a strat like that is minus armor, that has so much synergy that it changes early outcomes. Everyone just takes way more damage than you expect, and they had to really stabilize there. They had those really great first two.
Coming up next, Vici Gaming versus LGD Forever Young.
Even Fenrir safe, like, I guess they didn't have the best options, right? You had to look for like Ohio in the back lines or something like that. But
we got some replays here. One of the early chronos. We're continuing to praise Paparazzi, but basically felt like a flawless Void game in a lot of ways. You see the Rock follows up. This was the ultra kill for the Nature's Prophet as it continued. Overall, Trent, thoughts about the Arc Warden? I know you were a little cynical during the drafting phase, but it seemed like Ori played a damn good Arc Warden.
No, I like Arc Warden.
Hey, I remember you saying I favorite this LFY draft because I don't know how to evaluate the Arc Warden right now.
No, I said I'm better at the Arc Warden. He's like Tinker. Thank you very much. I like their draft and the idea of how they were enabling an offlane Nyx Assassin was what I said. Do not change my words. But guess what? They didn't enable the Nyx Assassin. It didn't work out at all.
Poor Ohio, dude.
He was really late at the level 6. And then the problem was that little trifecta relied on 3 heroes getting level 6 that 2 of them aren't your cores. So it's hard to get that done at a good pace. And although Arc Warden is a hero that you almost tend to think of being like punished a little bit early on, you just like roam into his lane because he's pretty squishy, that option wasn't really there.
I mean, looking at these replays, it's just the same fight over and over. Chrono, and then as soon as the Chrono expires, that Rock comes, and LFY just don't quite have the resources to deal with it. They do repel this push a little. This was that kind of sloppy high ground attempt where Vici dove pretty deep. I think 11 does end up dying back here, which was sort of unfortunate, but I'm sorry, it was Ori that died back here.
Yeah.
But still, they whittled it down. The damage was done. They did a really good job stopping Super from snowballing this game also. I think Super played a fine Death Prophet. Like you said, he was very active in the early game as well as the mid game, but he just wasn't able to sustain his momentum.
I mean, he had no map. They lost all those towers so fast. This game was, like, although it took a long time to finish, it was choked out so early that the hope for LFY was lost extremely early on into our game. I mean, like, 15 minutes in, you're just like, man, where are they going to find anything? How are they going to initiate into anything? They needed some sort of pick-off plays, but they weren't quite able to find them.
Yeah. One of the final fights here, Paparazzi again with the first Chrono. He does have the Refresher Shard in this situation, but time and time, there's that Rock immediately.
Yeah, he didn't whiff a single Chrono this game either.
Nope. I don't think they biffed a single Rock either. You can still see the power of the Terrorblade, though. Like you mentioned, there aren't many carries that could have kept LFY in this game as long as Monet did. I mean, his farm was pretty impressive and very difficult to maintain that farm when you don't have the map, as you said.
I think rewatching this game from Fenrir's perspective would be very interesting as well. Just seeing, like, he had no threat in this game, which is weird to think of,
chaotic final fight. LFY making Vici Gaming work for it even through the bitter end. But congratulations to Vici. They continue their lifetime in the tournament, and unfortunately for LFY, they will be the first squad eliminated from the Bucharest Major.
Coming up next, Team Liquid versus Complexity Gaming.
Early game, so much different than the late game that you might remember. Look at that kill score, 7-14.
9K
it's a
lead.
9K lead.
The Z-Freak buyback.
This is actually the moment of the turn. The toss into the creep wave, the stun into the silence, the walrus punch. This was the beginning of the end for Liquid.
Yeah, it's so good on those silences again. Just Z-Freak throat. That mid-game before there was like the Manta, before there was the BKB, he was there to make sure that they had that one flub where he got off the Sunder, and that was it. And then this, the Invis rune to set up. And yeah, that was the second fight, and from there it was just 100% all complexity.
Very tough game for Kuroki. It seemed like that Witch Doctor had an amazing impact early on, and then in those mid-game team fights, Timbersaw, Puck, Tusk, just so many ways to stop that Witch Doctor from getting the position that he wants. I think we saw maybe 2 Death Wards the whole game.
Yeah, after that fight, they got 12 kills on Liquid, and they had like I don't even know how many, like 30 or something on complexity. It was like 28 more kills after that. Like that was the point where the game was just kind of done.
Yeah, and this was sort of the split push. It was a 4v5. Miracle did secure barracks. Complexity maybe overextending a little bit in this particular engagement. They get the tier 3, but they don't actually end up getting the barracks here. Unfortunately, though, for Liquid, it doesn't really bode in their favor, and it just puts their axe further and further behind.
That was definitely a worrisome fight, honestly. If there was ever a time for Liquid to get back into it, that was it. But then this was it. When they were way in behind, like, it made no sense for them to be there. And that's why Miracle's just walking through. You see him all game doing this, and then once he's gone, godlike Limp and crew. And, I mean, Dr. Moo, my God.
Dr. Moo, baby.
He was the best this game. MVP for sure. Completely uncontrollable Timbersaw pick.
Yeah. The way Complexity took control of the map once they started getting momentum really was one of the most impressive parts of this match, like you were saying. You know, they weren't really that far ahead, and that positioning they were in where they picked off Miracle in that last clip, unbelievably aggressive. This is right after the Aghanim Scepter was picked up on the puck, gets tossed before the BKB comes out, and Miracle caught off guard by that long tether snap.
The double chain just right through, shredding mind control, forcing the buyback, and they get nothing out of it.
Yep. Absolutely nothing.
Man, that 25% XP game was just crazy for Moo. He was 25 so early, and then that Timber Chain talent is ridiculous, especially when they were already lacking control. Now he's everywhere.
Yeah. We were talking earlier about XP talents being a little bit hit or miss in the current meta, and you see players skipping XP talents more often than not, but this was a situation where getting that hero to level 25 ASAP was kind of a game winner.
Yeah. There's so many things you have to do right for a Timbersaw. As you said, he has a snowball first. He needs that, like that talent is good on the hero because he wants a snowball. But after that, you need to enable the Bloodstone. You have to take good fights with Bloodstone. You have to fight around this guy, make sure he gets a bunch of charges, and he went from 14 to 17 to 19 to 25 almost instantaneously.
Certainly what it felt like.
And this was that fight where you understood. You kind of started to see it and, you know, well, what the damage could be there, but it didn't matter. They were hitting buildings. Yeah. They were getting some megas done.
Yeah, I mean, the opportunity cost is huge. You see the Rampage and you go, Liquid are doing it. They have a chance. Then you realize, well, they had to give up megas for that to happen. So Complexity, yeah, they kind of went all in and handed him that Rampage, but well worth it as they were now able to press forward, focus the tier 4s, and that final fight really did feel like Terrorblade versus the world in a lot of ways, and not quite far enough to be able putting Liquid in a potential spot for elimination in the group stage.
Oh, look at those hugs. Oh, it's Kyle. Kyle Dota.
I mean, that has to feel good. Upset is the proper word here. So many people at home expecting Liquid to have an easy win. Even from that early game, they did so well. The Axe dominated for the first 15 minutes. Then all of a sudden, Moo erupted with one of the best Timbersaw performances we've seen in a while.
Coming up next, Mineski versus Vega Squadron.
But like they identified in that mid game that this Broodmother wasn't the important thing. They switched over to the Queen of Pain, and while fights like this, Blizzy, you know, doing his best here, shred through. But it's Undershock who was just so farmed at this point.
You know, it seemed like Zayat's played a very good Rubik this game. Also, obviously against Bane, it's a pretty easy steal on the Fiend script, but he was right there. He played a very aggressive Rubik. A lot of team fights blinking in first. I mean, a lot of those fights felt like, hey, we're going to catch the Rubik. This will be a free kill. Not today.
No. And then this was when Blizzy ends up going down, not quite getting in towards that nullifier, but eventually he did get it, and that was kind of that big turning item that almost got them the game, certainly got them back into it.
Yeah, the double nullifier. Seems like we're seeing nullifier get a lot more stock recently, more and more throughout this group stage. We're seeing it be a key item.
That blow up on the DD gyro. This was at the 6K lead, and just annihilating that hero like that, that's 20K now worth. It's just gone.
That fight right there was a moment where you could tell Mineski were thinking, guys, this is a game-ending moment. Let's go wipe him with this double damage. Mushi gets a little too cocky with his positioning and destroyed before he gets off any auto attacks.
And then once again, just to focus on the Zayak there with the Scythe, and they just hop on in with the Infest.
This is the fight where they start to turn things around. Blizzy gets caught in the Dream Coil, doesn't break it, and things start to scatter about.
But from here, that's, I guess this was like the last hope though, right? Like this is where they finally had taken that lead. Couldn't believe it. They had done it.
Yeah, and this is right after the Roche. There was a cheese on the Queen of Pain there for an additional reset. The Broodmother comes in, the nullifier onto the puck, and they do actually find this kill on Moon.
Really did not feel like a Brood game though. All the things you wanted out of that Brood hero just didn't really occur. Didn't wind up having a lot of hero damage because it's a Broodmother. Didn't wind up getting many towers. Didn't get a lot of space. Was just not given anything. So well played around from the side of Mineski, never giving her those solo heroes ever.
Blizzy did farm really well, though. Impressively so on the Broodmother, not impressively slow. He was farming very quickly. That was a weird Freudian slip there, but you're right. I think it is more a credit to Mineski playing around the Broodmother well rather than Blizzy not executing.
Yeah, and he was given that that tough ask of like, hey man, you kind of got jungle. We need Queen to get these lane creeps. You really need to beat KD.
Yeah, absolutely.
And, this was the end of it. As cool as Triple Lotus back into the gyro was, he was able to blow up one of them.
Really seemed to matter all that much. Yeah, kind of an insane way for that game to end, though.
You know, it was smiling there. You know, this is how you do it. Everyone else got the arms crossed thing going on.
Coming up next, VGJ Thunder versus TNC Pro Team.
Owning until the very last one.
Until the last. They looked so good, TNC. They looked so good. They looked like they were a set of racks up. They had the Aegis, they had the cheese, they had everything. And you're going to see a lot of good fights for them. I mean, Sylar did the best that he could in the early stages of the game. Freeze gets brought down here by the Manta Jug, and Raven really crushed it in the early game with the amount of damage he was able to pump out, the item choices as well. But
we're talking about that high ground pretty sarcastically, but apparently we know what we were talking about.
Oh, I don't think that was sarcastic.
We're no jokers up here.
We were on point, buddy. Trust me.
Okay.
The high ground did come through for VGJ Thunder. They took a lot of the fights outside of their base. It wasn't really that many high ground fights where they held on or they won the team fight outright. It was more...
Mont, you already sold me on the high ground. Now you're anti-selling me on the high ground.
I really am.
Yep.
But it's true, though. When you look at the game, they were always out of the base when they took fights for VGJ Thunder. They did a lot of smoking. They did a lot of fighting outside the base around Roshan was another big point of contention. But this is where it gets interesting. As Cuckoo, this is where I think the life is starting to be there for VGJ Thunder. They get the kill on Cuckoo. They almost get
We're starting to see
kills.
how strong the exorcism is in fights, right?
Yeah.
Like they end up diving so deep, and then TNC retaliate, big burrow strike and everything. Omni Slash comes out too. They manage to take down 2 targets, but the exorcism, while it's still running, they actually cancel out the Uber driver.
Yeah, that's
a $5 charge.
They wanted to try to find anything they could. They didn't want to go too far, and Yang, of course, trying to chase them down. I mean, I think it was 30K at one point, actually. You see it here. This is the fight.
This is the fight where Freeze barely lives on any health at all.
Raven spins away. Sylar tries to chase him down. The song comes in. They have a good Dream Coil. Of course, Roche is still there, and this is where it gets close. I mean, they jump back in. They try to take the fight with the Burrow in the epicenter, but Yang is able to pretty much get everything. The Burrow and the Epi come a second too late. Fade will get dropped by the Omni, but yeah, and then, of course, the Satanic comes out, and at that point, it's too little, too late, perhaps, for TNC, at least in this fight. And they did so much work. And, of course, Sylar, just the exorcism. And honestly, that R button, the refresher ore pickup, was a big deal for VGJ Thunder. And honestly, that leads me to the question, is Sylar your MVP for this particular matchup?
Oh, God, I didn't even think about that the entire game, honestly. I mean, he definitely played very well. And we just saw how strong the exorcisms were. But how do you not give it to Gyrocopter with 3 rapiers?
3 rapiers, right.
This man's been extremely creative. I don't know how he holds those things.
He
Clip
fit him
onto
in
his
every
belt?
Yeah, I think so. He had 700 GPM at the end of the game, despite having not the best start. He was, of course, one of the most farmed heroes at the beginning of the game for VGJ Thunder. This Dark Rift, they actually didn't get Sylar back, but it didn't matter. He didn't need to buy back, which was, I think, very important. And then this fight, this is
the fight where they nullify the Rapier Gyro, and they think they have him. They think this is the game
Lotus
right
Orb.
here.
I was very confused about what happened during this fight.
But
the Lotus Orb comes out. There's the Lotus Orb. The Omni Slash comes in, and they just go spinning together, essentially. They Omni, then the Satanic comes out in time for Freeze. He gets the BKB off. That was absolutely huge, that Lotus Orb coming in.
Yep, committing that much for the Gyrocopter and being unable to kill him afterwards is just a complete disaster.
So, I mean, I think the playoffs for the Bucharest Major.
Well, I hope you don't mind, but might I say that VGJ Thunder are indeed bringing the thunder?
They are indeed bringing the thunder, Brax. They absolutely brought it in that last stage of the game, the last 20 to 25 minutes. One of the best Dota games I've seen in quite some time, to be honest.
We talked about Nullifier being the potential game winner, but it was the Lotus Orbs.
Coming up next, Evil Geniuses versus Newbie.
This lineup and their way of sieging forces Newbie to engage onto them. EG don't have to dive. They can just sit here, zone, look at lifesteal's position.
Good burrow. It's on to 4. Can they find the follow-up? No, Conka's getting low. The mech keeping them alive. EG are all fine. And RTC looking to turn around, looking for Moogie. They're all on the run. Soc, they've got the Guardian Angel. They will at least push EG back for now. The Infest out. RTC looking for Faith, but there's the Dragon Tail. Now they jump back in. They want RTC, but he's got the Aegis, the Viper Strike, the Nether Blast. It's a lot of damage. The toss back. RTC still going to work on Soc, getting run down, but the Repel will keep him alive. And now they go back to work on this bottom set of racks, and it's about to be 2. That is a lot of newbie spells going to waste. They can't quite find anything. The Burrow Strike is still going. The Epicenter was used. The Guardian Angel not finding much work for newbie. They keep everyone alive, yes, but they lose the buildings, and now they might lose more. Soc is broken. He's got the Viper Strike. That is GG. Another quick victory for Evil Geniuses against newbie. 23 minutes in.
Woo, man. We just hit a point where
Coming up next, Optic Gaming versus OG.
These two teams, a 33-minute game, not quite the game we saw between EG and newbie in terms of length, but it certainly felt like an insurmountable lead for OG to come back from. And
I mean, this is so early on into the game, too, and the gold lead's already so big, but you know, if you just sit back and do nothing, you're going to lose anyways, right? You need to move out. You need to look for some of these plays, look for some of the team fights, and this is probably OG's best team fight that they had this game, honestly.
It came close, you know, it was like 2 for 4, I think. There was, I think, a really good epicenter coming in from 3-3, which really changed the complexion of the fight. Otherwise, OG come out maybe pretty far ahead in this engagement. They get Pycat at the end of it, but it's still a double kill from the Sand King with 4 heroes inevitably dying. Fly ticks down to the urn.
Optic are just so far ahead already.
Yeah, it's 7K at this point of the game at 15 minutes in. CCNC is up there along with Pycat. They've killed No-Tail a few times. I just don't. I mean, it was a great laning phase for Optic. That pretty much is what it comes down to. Like, Resolution couldn't get to that late game morphling that you wanted to get to.
They had a good lane phase and they just ran away with it.
Exactly.
Pretty much, right? It felt like that they needed so many things. You look at Visage, needs help to get to 6, needs some protection there. Morphling, a hero that also needs to be constantly babysat. Then you have an offlane Tiny laning up against this Bane who's just sitting there repeatedly clicking him down, kicking his ass. Nobody could really get anything going just because everyone needs some sort of help to get to that start, and it's just not possible to get there.
You think S4 getting that Blink Dagger might have been a huge pickup in OG's timing, but I think by that point it was too late even.
Yep.
I think they had like a 3 or 4K lead.
It's something like it's good, but they also need more to
Right.
make these plays consistently happen. But
And,
yeah, Optic Gaming, they played very well.
They did. This team really came out strong in the laning phase, as we've talked about, and they really crushed it, to be honest, and they look good in doing so. Now we need to talk about, you know, what this means for both of these teams. It's a 2-1 advantage now in the Swiss format for Optic. They are 1 win away from getting qualified to the playoffs.
Okay.
And OG are 1 win away, or 1 loss away, rather, excuse me, from getting eliminated here at the Bucharest Major.
Wow.
So
These next games are so important.
yeah, tomorrow is a huge day for pretty much everybody that's still playing at the very least. There's already a lot.
Well, that PL pick was amazing.
CCNC had a great time in that mid lane.
Yeah, you know, he's had a couple rough games this tournament, but look what happens when you give him a good matchup, right?
Yeah, he
Very good.
just gets a lot of room to work with. He gets a couple of kills with the help.
Ready. Steady. Game on.